Hey, I got a message from a guy who asked me, what should you do about the fact that when he imports two models in the matrix header into each other, it's erasing the GeosetAnim Alpha settings of one particular model so that when you import it in, it no longer has those alpha settings. So let's take an example of what alpha settings might I wish to import into some model that I already have. And let's say that we want to take Fury and Storm Rage. So let's get Fury and Storm Rage here. And let's say that I want to give Furion an animation where he shapeshifts into a bear, right? And so if you have the bear form animation that's in the actual Druid of the Claw, which is probably what we would import from here, right? The Druid of the Claw morph animation. This is an example of something that uses GeoSet Alpha, because the Druid of the Claw goes from being a visible guy to turning invisible, and the bear becomes visible to replace him, right? You can see with your eyes that at no point in this animation sequence does the Druid man actually, like, truly physically become a bear, right? He's just hiding and being replaced with a bear. You could see that here if we go to morph, that the way this is coded, he moves forward, and then there's one particular frame where a bear appears on top of him. So that's an example of GeosetAnim Alpha. So let's say that we want to have Furion do the same thing, right? That we want to import into Furion's spell animation, morphing into a bear. So we're going to go back to Furion, and we're going to try to make that happen. So here's Furion, and it looks like I need to go back to this menu to see what I'm doing. All right. We are going to import from the Druid of the Claw, and we're going to talk about why the matrix header is removing your GeosetAnim Alpha settings. So first off, I want to say maybe we'll remove everything except like the bear in the bear Druid. So we'll get that's bear, that's bear, that's bear. This is bear team color. That's like the corpse. This is some kind of glow we don't need. So we just have the bear and nothing else, only the bear. And what we want to say is, can I import the bear into Furion's spell animation? So let's just start with that. So we'll just take morph. That's the only animation. I click leave all. So the only animation we're going to transfer in is morph. We're going to put it in Furion's spell animation. And we can leave the objects. So it's just going to be the GeoSet here. Now, my belief of how this software works, and I've used it thousands of times, is that the GeosetAnim Alpha will correctly be transferred into here onto Furion, so that when we do Furion's spell, the bear appears. Now, it does seem to be the case that the GeosetAnim Alpha did get corrupted on one fragment of the model. And I think this particular fragment is using its GeoSet animation from the bear man. So what happened is I brought in a piece of model that's a separate GeoSet that we don't actually probably need, that is like the headdress of the man, because apparently the headdress uses the bear texture. Who knew? I did not know that. So what we can do is we can go to select connected component selection here, and we can just select, like, we can just even just select all, delete that. So my main point being, I guess, that we imported the bear into Furion, and it has its GeoSet animation layer that it appears halfway through this animation sequence. So the question then becomes, what would be a reason that and it does sometimes happen, that the matrix header would effectively delete all of your imported GeosetAnim settings. So let's do this example again, but we're gonna do something more. We're gonna make Furion disappear when the bear appears, right? Now to do that, we need Furion's GeosetAnim Alpha to be modified. And I think this is probably where the guy asking me a question had the software not doing what he wants. And I'm going to tell you why it doesn't do what you want, and then we can talk about it. So when I have Furion here, let's do that. And I'm gonna import again from the bear, from the Druid of the Claw, and we'll leave everything except those particular bear geosets. So just 3, 4, 5. 6. Maybe we don't even need. Is 3 the one we don't need? Let's. What's the quickest way to find out? I guess the thing that they're attached to. Yeah, 3 is attached to the Druid of the Claw himself. That's his headdress. So we don't need the headrest. So we're just 4, 5, 6. All right, so we import 4, 5, and 6. And again, we're only going to import morph animation. This is a new copy of Furion. We're starting over. We're going to leave out objects, so it's just the bare mesh with its animations. And what we want to do is we want to say what happens to the GeosetAnim Alpha. So we know the bare it's being imported, so it's going to correctly, we just saw it, it's going to correctly import with the bare GeosetAnim Alpha, and it's going to appear. But what if we also say that we want to have part of Furion disappear with the Druid of the Claw? So I think just for inspection, to sort of do some learning, let's make sure we open a separate tab with the Druid of the Claw here, a separate window basically, right? In this window drop down now. The old version of the program is tabs. And we want to look at what part of him is his body. So Mesh, Geoset 1 and Geoset 2 are the body of the Druid. So I'm suggesting, what if we have Furion use that to make Furion turn invisible? And this is key because Furion has a bunch of Geosets also. But we only really want the Furion Geosets that actually are the guy that we would make visible at the time. Because the Druid of the Claw has, because the Furion Druid model has all this other stuff going on, we very specifically only want the Geosets that are shown during stand. And I believe that is these two here, Geoset 1 and Geoset 2. So let's take Geoset 1 and Geoset 2, and we can select both of them. And we can say import animation visibility from Geoset 1 on the Druid. In fact, if we want to be really nice, we could even say import 1 from 1 and 2 from 2, because Furion and the Druid both have this where 2 is the team color. But there's really no point to caring about that because they should be the same. But in case they weren't, you could try to line it up. So what we expect to happen here is to have Furion disappear when the Druid disappears. And this is where this guy, he's asking me, he said, I'm importing a model, and the imported model, GeosetAnim Alpha, is being deleted. And now I'm going to click Finish. I'm going to show you that, yes, the imported model, GeosetAnim Alpha, will be deleted. So what we expect to happen is that in the spell animation, Furion disappears. But that's not what happens. He doesn't disappear. Why is that? Right? You could do, I'm guessing, to get to his question, this guy probably opened the model and spent a lot of time looking at what are the mechanics of what's happening inside the model. But having coded the software, I can tell you there's a deliberate reason for those mechanics. And that's the fact that I figured if you're merging two models and you have lots of animations and you have lots of visibility settings, you might be stuck in a case where you have some animations where you want Furion to use his original GeosetAnim Alpha from his original model, and other animations where you want him to use the imported in that dialogue where we have two choices. We have what's his existing and what's his imported. The imported Druid of the Claw animation, GeosetAnim Alpha, right? And you want to have that used in Furion sometimes in some animations. And so it became, when I was building it, it became this challenge of, well, which animations do I copy that GeosetAnim Alpha into, right? Do I want it to be in every Furion animation that I merge in a Druid of the Claw animation? I'll just replace it with whatever the Druid of the Claw setting is in the two options there. And I realized that causes all kinds of havoc, because if you always replace it, then anytime you're importing one animation over another, the visibility settings get really odd because you might not have a corresponding setting from the new model. So we're going to do it again because we see what I did didn't work. It deleted the imported GeosetAnim Alpha, just like this guy told me it would when he asked me this question. But we're gonna get around it. There is a way to do it. So we're gonna go to the Furion here, and we're gonna import from unit, and we're gonna import from the Druid of the Claw. So let's be really careful. We know Geosets 4, 5, and 6 are the ones that we care about. So I'm gonna go to that 4 and Geoset 5 and Geoset 6. Now I'm going to go to the Animation tab, and we're going to leave everything except Morph again, just as we did before. We'll put that in Spell. We'll get rid of Objects because we don't care about objects for this tutorial. So now I'm going to go to Visibility, and we want to do the same thing we did before, where we have Geoset 1 of Furion, and you know it didn't do what we told it, but we wanted to have Geoset 1 of Furion and Geoset 2 of Furion copy from the Druid of the Claw, so Furion's body disappears when the Druid does, which didn't happen last time. Last time it deleted all the GeosetAnim Alpha out of the Druid of the Claw. But we're going to do something different this time. There's this checkbox that says favor component's original visibility when combining. Now the idea behind this is that I knew when I built the system that we might have a conflict, that we have two sets of GeosetAnim Alpha in the same time frame. And so I said, all right, when that conflict happens, we have to choose a winner, right? Do we use Furion or do we use the Druid of the Claw? Which one do we choose? So to resolve those conflicts, I made this checkbox that when set to true, which is the default, it will never override the GeosetAnim Alpha in the whatever the model originally came from. And it's interesting also because it means that the bear, when we're moving the bear into this animation, if I go to these bear geosets and I put not visible in here, the bear will still be visible in the spell animation. Because when it gets this conflict and it says, well, we chose to not be visible for Furion animations, but the bear already had a visibility track in its GeosetAnim Alpha where it appears halfway through the animation. And now we're merging them. What do we choose? And as long as you don't change this checkbox, it always chooses the model that the mesh came from. So the bear will always choose the bear, and Furion will always choose the Furion. But as soon as we uncheck this checkbox, we're telling it that when we have animation time conflicts with GeosetAnim Alpha, that we want to use the alternative one. So in this case, Furion will use the GeosetAnim Alpha of the Druid of the Claw, who disappears halfway through his morph animation. And you'll see this now if I click Finish, that halfway through Furion's spell animation, he'll disappear, even though that wasn't his original GeosetAnim Alpha settings for that animation. Because we are not favoring the component's original visibility when combining. We're not favoring Furion's visibility track when we put the Druid of the Claw in that animation. We're instead favoring the Druid of the Claw. And this is going to force Furion to disappear halfway through his own spell animation because we merged the Druid of the Claw, including GeosetAnim Alpha time settings, into Furion's spell animation. So let's click Finish and let's see if this works. But I'm fairly confident that it should. That halfway through the spell animation, Furion disappears. Now I didn't handle the hero glow, as you can see, but that's very simple to do. You use the same settings on the hero glow that we used on his body. So through this process, you're able to effectively control when the Matrix Eater will delete GeosetAnim Alpha settings, and it does because there are these conflicts. But you want to be in command of when your GeosetAnim Alpha conflicts happen, which one gets deleted and which one gets saved. So I hope that's helped you today, and I hope you have a good day.